Hello, this is Ellen Gunlack from Purdue University. I'm hosting today's CAUSE webinar, Teaching and Learning series. We have Ethan Brown, who is a PhD student from the University of Minnesota, talking to us today about their project on the Wikipedia Makeover for Statistics Education. For now, all of you have been muted. And if you have questions, Ethan would be very happy to get a discussion going. So please submit your questions into the question box, and then I can ask them to Ethan. And at the end of the webinar, as you leave, please take a minute or two to fill out the quick survey at the end so that we can get feedback. Go ahead, Ethan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. So, as she said, I'm from the University of Minnesota, and I'm part of a group with Dr. Joan Garfield, Elizabeth Fry, who's with me right now, hello, and Nicola Justice. And we've been working on the Statistics Education Wikipedia article. So I'm going to talk about why we thought the Wikipedia's coverage of statistics education was important, what we did about it, and what you can do to help out, and about a few sort of issues that we came across when we saw how the article was and started to improve it. So, why Wikipedia? Why are we spending time interested in this? So it's a huge online encyclopedia that anyone can edit. It's a comprehensive reference source, which is often of fairly high quality, not always. And it's one of the most popular sites on the internet. It's one of the top 5. And I bet if you ask your students what's the first thing you do when you're researching a new topic, they'll say that they look it up on Wikipedia. And that's what I do as well. So it's the statistics education article on Wikipedia is fairly popular. You can see here that, you know, many days it's over 100 hits, usually at least 75 hits a day, viewed 8,405 times in the last 90 days, and that wasn't just me. So there's a lot of viewing of this page, either several enthusiastic people viewing it quite frequently or lots of people viewing it just a few times. But either way, there's a lot of activity on this page. And it's a top search hit. It's one of the public faces of statistics education when you search for it on Google or Bing. Often the Journal of Statistics Education is one of the first hits. Then there's some irrelevant hits with educational statistics, unfortunately. And then right below that is statistics education on both of the major search services. So we have a big opportunity here that we should take, is the argument I'm making today. So it's an opportunity for dissemination. It provides these readers, those 8,405 or whatever people, with information about the discipline, its goals, and its contributions. It can be a resource, a community resource for statistics education researchers where we can work together to define terms, delineate things, come to a common language. And it's also what I would say, it's an outlet. If you've pulled together some good references or an overview of a topic on statistics education, this is a great opportunity to document it so that others can find that and have a gateway to what you've pulled together. And I've learned a lot from the editing that I've done about statistics education and about writing it clearly for a large audience. So in fall 2012, we have a seminar here at the University of Minnesota called Research in Statistics Education. We're actually having another one right now. And during this time, we took a look at the article to see what Wikipedia was sort of saying about our discipline. So I'll show you what that article looked like. Wikipedia archives all of the old articles. And so here it is. So it starts out okay. Statistics education is concerned with the teaching and learning of statistics. You can see that this is last revised on May 2012, so this is the old version. And there's a decent introduction, but then we immediately kind of jump into school level. And then something about something Chris Wilde's doing in New Zealand, some scattered thoughts about the United Kingdom, and some things in the United States. It's very scattered. It doesn't give a sense of what statistics education is. If you look down through the sections, there's very little indication that there's any research at all on statistics education or resources for teachers. There's very little reference to the professional community with organizations such as CAUSE. So there's some stuff here. It's not absolutely nothing. You know, they do link to the Journal of Statistics Education and some of the resources, but it's fairly minimal. And also one thing that we noticed, there's this kind of rant about the rarity of randomized experiments, but all it talks about is the rarity of randomized experiments in math education. So I'm not quite sure what it was doing in this article. And another thing we noticed was that under teaching methods, it said that the main article is mathematics education. So I don't know how many of you view yourselves as math teachers, but not all, but I certainly don't. So we saw some issues. So as I said, it was kind of scattered. It didn't really give an idea of what our discipline was. It was that rambling rant. And we really wanted something that gave more of an idea of the research and practice of statistics education. You know, if I searched for that, and I think I did come across that article when I was first interested in teaching statistics, that didn't give me a sense of the strength of the community and of the resources and thought that's gone into statistics education. So we wanted to do that. So we formed a team of 4 of us, Dr. Joan Garfield, myself, Nicola Justice, and Elizabeth Fry. And we met regularly to make and discuss changes. We came up with an outline for the ideal article. We still haven't completed all these changes, but we created that outline and we made edits and provided feedback on each other's edits. And often we'd, you know, make a few informal, throw together a document, share it with each other. It wouldn't necessarily be in Wikipedia's format yet, but it was always good to get a start on the content that we wanted. So just wanted to quickly show that outline, which is still up. So here's some of the things that we thought would be in an ideal article, and we haven't done all of this yet. So we wanted to write about the goals of statistics education. We do have that up there. Some more of the history. There's a rich history of our discipline. Teaching methods, teacher development, research. So we wanted a comprehensive sense of what statistics education is about. So I think we've made some major improvements that have made the article a lot better, but there's still a long way to go. So we have a new section on goals of statistics education, professional community, and the new directions. We removed some irrelevant material, and we removed that statement that statistics education is a kind of math education. So you can see the new article here, or just by searching for statistics education on Google, you'll come to this site quite quickly. And so we've got some great new stuff here. There's this good section on the goals of statistics education, which Liz did most of that work. So I think this is some great resources here. And we still have limited information on statistics education in different countries and in different levels. So it's all English speaking and Estonia right now. And there's still a lot to improve, but we do now have more of a coverage of the professional community and some of the new directions, including some of the current trends of incorporating randomization and that sort of thing. But we still have a lot to do. We want practices around the world. I was just at the International Conference of Teaching Statistics, and there's all sorts of things people are doing around the world. There's no coverage of all of the work that's being done with standards, discussions of the different levels of statistics education, you know, the goals at different parts of K through 12, distinguishing non-major introductory statistics courses, statistics training as part of a discipline, such as biostatistics, statistics majors, graduate training. a lot that we can talk about here, and a lot of research and work that's been done in all of these areas. Teacher development, history. And there's other articles on statistics education besides for this one article as well. There's articles on statistical literacy, informal inference, there's research on all those psychological heuristics that we use when we're making decisions, the research that's all the way been since the 1970s. So there's a lot out there, and the main point that I want to make in this presentation is that I think Wikipedia is a low-hanging fruit for dissemination and making our research and our teaching wisdom a bit more public. It represents an opportunity to reach a lot of people around the world and act as a research internally for our community. And the four of us can't do this alone. I don't know much about the advances in statistics education in Brazil or in many other places around the world. So we want you to join in and help out. So I'm going to talk for a moment about what to do that, and then we'll have a discussion about this where you can share your ideas and how you might be able to jump in. So one way you can help is just to email me and with suggestions or things you'd like to add. We'd like to ask that if you are going to, if you do want to write up a contribution, I think a key part of that is finding references, and those don't necessarily have to be published papers references. Those could be newspaper articles. There's a variety of references that are useful for Wikipedia, but just opinion articles or essays are not really what Wikipedia is about. It's an encyclopedia, and that's the kind of format that they're after. Another way you can help is just to dive in and try to edit the article directly. And a more indirect thing that you can do is add posts to the talk page of the article, and I'll talk about that in a second, or to my own Wikipedia talk page. So the talk page is where discussions about the article happen, and it's kind of a safe space. It's still technically public, but most people aren't looking at it. So it's a good place to hash out, oh, I think we should improve this section. I had this idea. I found this article about something. Let's add something related to this article, all of that sort of thing. So I'll show you directly how you might add something to the statistics education talk page. And so you go to the statistics education page, and then on the top here, there's article, and this is the main article that everybody's seeing, and you can click on talk to see the conversations about the article, and you can see that there's already been some conversations, some of which I'm involved in. And to add a new topic to discuss, you just go to new section up on the right here, and then you can type whatever the name of your new section is. This needs to change, and then write whatever you want. I think that the second section is terrible. And obviously we'd want a little bit more helpful information than that to do something with, and then we can have a conversation about it. And you can go to save page. And there's more guides on all the proper ways to formatting, but I'd rather have you jumping in and making a contribution, even if it isn't 100% with Wikipedia's policies, because that's how we learn, is by having these conversations. So I do want to talk about a couple quick caveats with the Wikipedia community. It sometimes takes a little bit of navigating, but I think it's better to jump in and ruffle feathers than to do nothing. Some people get really obsessed with all the policies and procedures, but the people who are on the Wikipedia page for statistics education tend to be fairly friendly, so we'll help you out. And another thing that I'll point out is that it's difficult to add pages for organizations such as CAUSE or SRTL, because Wikipedia has pretty high standards for organizations. You have to have like several independent media sources or reliable sources about an organization in order to add an article about that, and they do that to prevent self-promotion. So it's a bit hard to add articles like that, but for the topics of statistics education, you can see that we already have several, and those are welcome. So with those caveats, jump in. So one of the official Wikipedia policies, and I'll show you the page. If a rule prevents you from improving or maintaining Wikipedia, ignore it. It's better to have people on there, working together, making changes, and we'll work towards being aligned with their policies. But I'd rather have more people on there than people being scared off that they're breaking some rule or something like that. Just to give some evidence of that, this is documents a widely accepted standards that all editors should normally follow, which is to ignore all rules. So I think that will be my main closing note. So feel free to contact me for any follow-up questions or comments. And did you have something you wanted to say?
I just wanted to stress how much of a collaborative effort this is. Even when Ethan pointed and said, Liz wrote a lot of this, I actually got a lot of help from Joan finding references and from the rest of the team and a lot of feedback. So I just wanted to stress that it is really a collaborative effort. So ask other people around you who might be interested. Use that talk page. Don't feel like you have to write something by yourself. So we welcome your help and your collaboration.
And I posted some stuff up there, and we've both posted some stuff up there, and then some stuff with the references was in the wrong format and all that, and other people on Wikipedia fixed it. That's the whole point of this. So I think I will be ready to take questions now. So Ellen, you can, so I don't know, do we have any questions?
Sure. Thanks, Ethan and Liz. Yeah, we have a question from Nicole. She says that she finds the contrast between formal and informal inference problematic. Can you comment on that and what the differences are in Wikipedia?
Is there a formal inference entry in Wikipedia?
I don't know if there's a formal entrance in Wikipedia. I know that there is some research that corroborates that it's difficult to draw that distinction. So I don't know what the informal inference page says, but that sounds like a great thing to include on that page, that there is a controversy, and I've heard that controversy elsewhere. So maybe you should jump in and, so I don't know what that article says, if it acknowledges that controversy.
She said in Wikipedia it's actually called informal inferential reasoning.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question for you. Are you the only organized group, as far as you know, working on editing this page, or have you noticed that there seem to be other clusters of regular editors?
I believe we're the only cluster. I've seen a few, there are a couple other editors on there, but they're kind of scattered across the world. I saw one person from the University of Florida Statistics Education Group, so I'm hoping that they form a little bit more of a cluster. No pressure.
Okay, remember you can post your questions in the question box. You can type them in. If there are any topics that you think need to get added or any suggestions that you have for this group. Have you been surprised by any of the suggestions made by other people or suggestions for changes to what you had already thought should be on there?
I can actually, I did have a discussion with some people at the last US COTS about the article, and so I can actually show that. I'm going to get out of this, editing this section. So we've gathered a few of the suggestions. I think one that I thought was a great suggestion that I hadn't originally thought of, and I think would be a great addition, is discussing some of the controversies in statistics education. and addressing some of the perhaps contradictory research and opinions on that. So some of the controversies are use of t-tables, graphing calculators, resampling versus asymptotic approaches, conceptual understanding versus computation, excuse me, Bayesians versus frequentists. We always have, at any conference I've been to, there's always a few Bayesians who really think that that's how intro stats should be taught. How much probability you include, that's kind of a perennial topic. And empirical versus simulated probability distributions. So I think those are, I never thought of having that in this article, and it's not there now, even though this suggestion was from a while ago, but I think that's some great content to add because that's something that a lot of teachers and educators are struggling with. So I think that would be a great addition.
Oh, Nicole added again that she sees the Bayesian frequentist controversy, and that's more philosophical than mathematical and statistical.
But it affects a pedagogical, I mean Bayesians first versus frequentists in terms of teaching. Do we teach an intro course with Bayesian methods, as some people have advocated? Was sort of what I'm after there.
Have you seen any topics on the talk page where there's been disagreement as opposed to, you know, a general straightforward path to make something better? Have there been heated debates?
Not on this page. I was surprised by that because I was expecting a little more, because I removed the whole section about rarity of randomized experiments, but there was no real controversy about that. Honestly, the activity is somewhat minimal on this page right now. I would almost rather have more heated debates. If you look at the statistics pages, you'll see a lot of good debates there. I think I remember a whole bunch of debates on the standard deviation page on how to phrase certain things and all of that. And I want to, as a side note, since we're talking about statistics education, improving the statistics content on Wikipedia is obviously a good priority for us to be thinking about as well, because sometimes the things are stated in an unclear way, or sometimes things are even wrong. There's a wider community that's more active on the statistics specific pages, I would say, however.
All right, Larry has a question. He wants to know, is the content of the Wikipedia informed by, or should it be, the chapters on probability and stat education and national international handbooks on mathematics education research?
I think that would be great information to include. I think we don't have that in there right now, or anything related to it. So I think we should certainly reference something like that. Although, you know, that's probably going to present things in ways that are not totally universal, but that controversy can be acknowledged and incorporated into the article.
Okay. You mentioned that you would actually encourage some heated debates here if it meant increased traffic, but Larry wonders if you would mind that having more of these debates triggers Wikipedia's disputed neutrality label.
Well, what I don't want, I want heated debates on the talk page. I don't want heated actions on the article so much. So I think, you know, somebody can add something a little bit controversial to the article, and then we can hash it out. And obviously I want people to be reasonable even if they have strong opinions. I would love some heated debate on the talk page, because then we're really hashing out how to make the article better. But what is inappropriate is people removing each other's edits without discussing, or trying to work on a neutral article that represents both viewpoints.
Well, okay, so how would that work? You said maybe the University of Florida will come up with their own group, you were hoping. What if they want to take a completely different approach than you did? How does that get resolved?
So we talk about it on the talk page. The approach that we've taken in our group is that we target specific sections and just work on things a bit at a time in sort of an incremental approach. And that way we can kind of course correct if we're coming across a lot of resistance. As I said, there's not enough traffic on this article and not enough people actively editing it to have a lot of controversy, but sometimes there are. My dad, who's very active on the mammalian history Wikipedia pages, which are very, very highly trafficked and have a lot of scientists involved in there. He's, very carefully negotiated making small edits, proposing it on the talk page, the edit first, having discussions about it, making the edit. So even if he has a different vision about the page as a whole, he can make small changes that make it closer to his vision and to sort of end up with a compromise. So I think small steps is the key.
When we edited this page, we just did it a very small bit at a time. We didn't take a giant section and delete it or add a huge section. We just did it piece by piece.
Okay. I think that's all that we have. So thank you very much for this discussion and for your work on this project.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, we just had one more question come in. Sorry, we'll get this one. Is there room to add information on the statistics subject matters into Wikipedia?
Could you clarify the question?
Can we add more information about the specific subjects that are taught, the statistics subjects that are
often taught?
Yes.
I think that would be appropriate. There is a section right now that's very vague and minimal, which discusses in a somewhat scattered way right now some of the things that are taught at the university level and some of the things that are taught at the K through 12 level. So I think there's a lot of room for putting in the kinds of things that are taught. One thing that I want to point out is that this should ideally should represent a worldwide view. So if we add things about what's taught in the US, we should also be adding things about what's taught around the world. So, but there's always room. If an article gets too long or cumbersome, we can just split it off into a separate article. Sometimes, I think mathematics education has an article for mathematics education in the United States. So if we end up with ballooning content, we can always divide it out into smaller articles.
Okay, thank you very much. This has been great, and I want to remind all of our listeners that the next webinar on the schedule is a Journal of Statistics Education webinar that's October 21st at noon. It will feature 2 different articles, so it will last the full hour, and watch for announcements for that. Don't forget about the survey that you'll see as soon as you exit out of the webinar room, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.